I have had a major epiphany. I have had a major epiphany in the last few days. I sometimes get these recurring dreams that pick up where they left off, and it always takes place in the same setting. And the setting is this like never-ending house, where it's almost like the rooms are kind of like bubbles, where it's like you could walk up the stairs, go down the hallway, turn into a room, and then like as you open the door, the room comes out. Like it's not like the room was like a concrete structure already there. It's like as you open the door, the room kind of unfolds and is there. So I woke up the other day after having a dream like that, and I don't know what it was. I thought about it. I was like, that's weird. Like, why am I having that so much? And then I got this sudden intrusive thought that was like, suddenly I knew why. I didn't know why I knew. I didn't have a thought process that gave it to me. It was just like, in my head, it was like, that's the inner world. Hello? What's taking you so long to figure it out? Kind of a thing was how obvious this thought was. And I was just like, holy fucking shit. Because I've talked on here about how I have never had an inner world, and it has always confused me because a lot of people with DID have one, and it's like kind of at a point in therapy where you can kind of work towards having one, or if you don't have one, you can create one, and I haven't been through all of that yet. And so a lot of the internal, like I don't have any internal communication between parts inside. And so that's what makes ultimately my life a lot more difficult, is because parts are so separated. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's the inner world. Because in this dream, what it is it's like this house, and it's almost like each part has their own bedroom. And it's like there's so many parts that the house structure doesn't remain concrete, like I had said. It doesn't remain the same. It depends on like whichever parts are like there at the time, kind of, or I still haven't figured it out. But it changes. It's interchangeable. So you can open a door and then the part just like the room just like opens up. And whoever's part it is, it's like that's their room. Well, I had this dream that my mother, who I'm currently no contact with, was banging on the doors to the house, banging on the door, banging on the windows, trying to throw rocks at the windows to break the windows to get in. And there were children in the house who were crying and scared. And they weren't my children, like they weren't like my actual kids. I didn't recognize the children, but I recognized how they felt because they're my littles. So it was like the first time of seeing in my head what those littles think they look like. So there was kids in their rooms crying and screaming and scared. There were preteens, kind of like older kids, adolescents maybe, that were like wanting to open the door, and were like, Mom, like, come on, like let's open the door for her. And then there were adults, in particular Whitney, Carmen, Bianca, Lexus, Drake, a few other ones that were mad and adamantly like, do not let her in. We are not opening the door. Reinforce the fucking windows, like board them up. We're bunkering down. We're hunkering, like that. We're not opening up our space for her. So I talked about this with my therapist yesterday, and she was like, this is really encouraging. Like, she was like, that's a really good sign that like you're moving in the right direction. She said that typically, like with dream meanings, a house represents the psyche, right? And so she was like, it makes sense that if that is your inner world, you know, it's a house, because the house is your brain. Those different rooms are the parts. And then, you know, the kids that were crying, it's those kid parts reacting. The adults that were mad and boarding up the windows, those are the protectors who want to keep her at arm's length away. who maybe don't have trust issues, you know, like want to protect me as an overall self. I am like blown away because it's like that information, like, it's so weird because it's like now that I know it, I don't know how I didn't know it. Because I recall having dreams like that for a long time. And I just thought they were like recurring dreams, or like a lot of times like I'd wake up and not remember that I had that dream. But then it's like I would go to sleep and have the dream again and I knew I had had it before. It's like maybe a deja vu sense where it's like, oh, I've had it in my head, like subconsciously I'm like, I've had this dream before. But yet when I wake up and I try and recall the dream or think about it, I don't remember that I had one. Anyways, there's a lot to that. And then my therapist was like telling me that that's really encouraging for my healing process and for the communication between parts and all of that. So she was like saying, hey, if you have an artist in the system, like please try and see if they can like draw a diagram of what the inner world looks like. Like if they could like draw it, sketch it, make a diagram, do some sort of thinking thing online, like something to put it on paper or visually so that like I can see it. Because she was like, if I'm able to see that, it would give me a lot of information on how your system works, you know, because it's kind of like a hierarchy in a sense. Because I have some parts that are like, oh, this one will only come out through this alt or this part. So in a way it's like this alt has their own alts. So I guess in the inner world, that would be like, I open the door to Whitney's room, and then there's a door to Sapphire's room. But you can't go directly from the hallway to Sapphire's room. You have to go through Whitney's room first. You know? It's wild. It's wild. Yeah. Sorry I haven't been posting a lot of like actual mental health type stuff. I've transitioned kind of like, because you know, my mom used to be like our nanny. There's like a lot of things that have happened since then. I've transitioned back to being a stay-at-home mom. I don't get as much time alone, and I definitely don't get time in the car anymore, like by myself, so where I can make videos. And so it's not really a part of my day anymore where I'm like in the car and have the ability to reflect like I used to. And so that's kind of why those videos are next to none now. But I try and do them when I can. Anyways, yeah, big news. And I know I'll have updates as things progress with figuring out what more of that means. But, yeah.